Gents, let's get right to the point. In the past, have you ever been in the time you desired to communicate with a woman in a more profound and personal way, but were unsure about how to handle the circumstances? Suppose I told you there's a method of asking for closeness that's not just efficient as well as consistent with the timeless values of now. We're delving deeply into a psychological trick that won't only alter your approach to closeness, but also boost your confidence centered and in charge of your feelings. Picture yourself sitting across from the lady you've been dating for some time. You sense a deep bond, and you're prepared to move things forward. However, rather of exuding confidence, you're nervous, unsure of how to bring up the topic. What happens if she declines? She withdraws, revealing those are the incorrect inquiries. The query is, how can you apply the ideas behind Stoicism to change the dynamic of power, ensuring her comfort, not just with closeness, yet wanting it just as much as you? Please remain with me for the ensuing moments, and following this tutorial, you will have the resources to make an intimate request that is tactful and psychologically astute. And firmly based on Stoic thought, this isn't your typical guidance on dating. It's about being an expert at psychologically and emotionally a bond in a manner that most men— let's begin at the top. The mental ploy, the strength of susceptibility and strength. Let's now explore the psychological ruse in and of itself, vulnerability combined with power. This could seem paradoxical, but in reality, it's a strong dynamic. When executed properly, generates a magnetic pull. Weakness is frequently misinterpreted by many. Compare being vulnerable to being weak or excessive sharing. But vulnerability is about genuineness, being forthright and truthful about your objectives and sentiments, without seeming in need or desperate. In the fragility of Stoicism, in context, entails being authentic while keeping emotional control. When you articulate your aspiration for intimacy, has to do with clarity and tranquility. For instance, you may state, "I've really delighted in our time together, and I have a deep connection to you. I want to move things along to a better personal level, since I think it could strengthen our relationship." This assertion has significant impact. First of all, it's straightforward and clear as day that you're not circling the subject or engaging in games. You're clearly stating your intentions. Is the second. It's courteous that you're not being pushy, closeness, or putting pressure on her. Rather, you're asking her to think about. Third, it is based on the conviction that closeness will improve the relationship, that does more than merely satisfy your own preferences. But why is this equilibrium of both strength and weakness? So it is efficient, because it utilizes a fundamental psychological desire that we are all the necessity of making a connection. When you susceptibility, you indicate that you're willing to establish a deeper bond. When you combine those, despite your power, you display weakness. That you're not looking for a relationship desperate, although from a position of certainty and confidence in oneself. This dynamic is really appealing because it fosters trust and a sense of security. Women are more likely to reply favorably to closeness when they perceive confident in the partnership and aware of the man they are dating is emotionally accessible and emotionally stable. Phone number 2, the Stoic practice of waiting patiently. Her established one of the most potent features of today's Stoicism is patience. Patience in a fast-paced environment is uncommon virtue, but it's also really alluring. When asking for closeness, it's important to allow the woman to dictate the speed. It doesn't imply being docile. Rather, it's about remaining attentive, in the moment, and receptive to her cues. In Stoicism, being patient does not mean being actively engaged. Instead of passively waiting, patient participating in the procedure, seeing and comprehending the circumstance without pressuring it. When it comes to closeness, patience entails realizing that each person has unique timetable, degree of comfort, and haste. The procedure may result in needless stress and apprehension following expression. The next step is your desire for intimacy, is to provide her time to reflect and retort. The ensuing quiet could seem awkward, but it's necessary. It is in this silence that the magic occurs. It's a place for her to think back on her comfort level, as well as her desires and feelings. It is during this pause that she can decide, that she feels comfortable without of pressure or rush at this particular time. Keep your gaze open, be calm, and maintain an open body language. Your posture should demonstrate you're assured and understanding, that you're not in a rush to make progress, but are. Let yourself go at whatever pace feels good. This strategy demonstrates respect and makes a secure space for her to convey her emotions in this manner. Patience is a very powerful virtue because it lets others know you're not merely captivated by close physical contact, yet in establishing a relationship based on mutual respect and comprehension, demonstrate that you respect her boundaries and emotions, and that you're prepared to hold off till the appropriate moment, as opposed to rushing anything. Furthermore, it takes time for her to be ready. A mark of emotional development, it shows that you have command over your wishes, as opposed to allowing them regulate you to this extent emotionally. Being mature is both appealing and rare. Demonstrates your ability to handle intimacy, as well as the emotional complexity associated with its number 3. The deft use of suggestion planting the hairy in is the true psychological trick is used in place of directly requesting intimacy, putting forth an idea that motivates her to consider it from her own perspective. This method harnesses the strength of offer a subdued but powerful psychological instrument. The strength of proposal is extensively detailed in Psychology Functions Well, because it permits the individual who is recommended to absorb the concept and make it their own. When you make a suggestion of your own, you're not forcing your wants on her, urging her to investigate the notion in her own head, at her own speed, one may argue. Something akin to, perhaps, being nearer. For us, you would feel completely at ease. Please understand that this is not a direct request, but a kind prod that permits to imagine the closeness you're stating, that it's less about persuasion and more about encouraging her to delve deeper. The notion alone, this strategy is effective since it honors her independence and gently persuades her to view closeness as a reciprocal, organic development, as opposed to something that was forced upon her by sowing the seed of closeness within her. Remember to let her assume responsibility for the notion, increasing her likelihood of accept it, but the craft of recommendation never ends with sowing the seed. It's concerning how you maintain it after putting out the recommendation, to keep developing both a physical and emotional bond in subtle ways, such as how you might boost the quantity of loving contact, such as taking her hand or offering, give her a hug. These tiny actions go a long way. Foster a feeling of warmth and intimacy, enhancing the perception of intimacy. At the same time, desirable and natural. Pay attention to how she responds. If she looks attentively, keep expanding upon that. If she appears hesitant, give her momentum. Extra time and room, staying is crucial. Watchful and patient, letting the concept too of intimacy to develop naturally instead of rather than making it the fourth building expectancy, the influence of postponed satisfaction. And further crucial facet of Stoicism is the notion of delayed satisfaction, realizing the importance of the power that comes with waiting. Regarding intimacy, hurrying the procedure can frequently reduce its worth, and influence of postponed gratification is the capacity to withstand temptation for an instant gratification and bide their time for something. Later on, this idea will become more significant, fundamental to Stoic thought, and extremely pertinent in light of closeness, as opposed to pursuing think about instant satisfaction, constructing anticipation. This is not a game. difficult to get, or controlling the circumstance. It's about strengthening the emotional ties to ensure that when intimacy occurs, but it's more significant and gratifying for the two of them, to create anticipation, concentrate on collaborating to create unforgettable experiences that fortify your emotional connection. Take part in pursuits that make you closer, regardless of how deep exchanges of personal narratives, or engaging in activities that you both savor these mutual experiences and establish a feeling of kinship that transcends the physical, increasing the likelihood of eventual intimacy. Strong and significant alternative means of create suspense is by subtly physical clues. For instance, you could intensify physical contact as holding hands, extending tender embraces, or seated these tiny actions. The closer they are, foster a feeling of intimacy and connectedness without launching straight into a physical partnership as the secret of the delay. Satisfaction is realizing that the travel is equally significant to the destination by devoting time to construction, a solid emotional base that you establish a happier and more significant linking. This strategy not just improves intimacy when it occurs, but additionally reinforces the overall romance additionally postponed. Satisfaction is an indication of restraint and emotional development. It demonstrates that you don't act on impulsive desires, yet have the patience to wait for something. More significant, this degree of self-control is quite appealing because it shows that you're not genuinely engaged in not only in terms of sensual enjoyment, but also in constructing a robust and significant emotional connection. Number 5, intellect observing her signs and replying emotional intelligence that is considered thoughtfully vital in any kind of relationship. But when negotiating Stoicism in closeness instructs us to be aware of our own feelings, although it also motivates us to be conscious of the emotions of others and responses. Emotional intelligence includes recognizing, comprehending, and handling both your personal feelings and the be mindful of other people's feelings to her speech tone, body language, and the hints she leaves behind for instance, if she appears unsure or uneasy, admit it, accept it, and provide her area to communicate her emotions to you. I've noticed that you seem a little silent. What is your opinion on what we're doing? Talking about something indicates that you're not only concentrated on what you wanted, but also sensitive to her feelings. Women value a man with insight and perception, and considerate individual who puts their ease and wellness. This degree of rare is emotional intelligence, and incredibly lovely, but sensitive. Intelligence is more than merely understanding. Her signs is not only about how, if she speaks to them, you answer. Reluctance. Avoid pressuring or persuading rather than dismissing her emotions. She tell her you appreciate her. Borders. You could answer, I get it if I want you to know that you're not ready. Feel at ease. Let's move slowly. If this type of feels appropriate for you, reply demonstrates your consideration. Regarding her emotions and degree of comfort, exhibiting a readiness to place her wants over your own is a vital component of intellectual stoicism. Emotional intelligence additionally entails understanding your own feelings and how they impact your exchanges if you're experiencing. If you're feeling tense or irritated, pause to think for a moment before reacting to this awareness of oneself enables. You should approach the matter in a serene and collected attitude, as opposed to allowing your feelings to control your amount of actions. 6th, the function of self-control and taking charge of your wants, self-control, which is essential to Stoicism, and how important it is when talking about intimacy. Controlling your wants doesn't mean that imply repressing them. It implies not allowing them to control how you behave or impair your judgment when interacting with a. When it comes to intimacy, women should proceed from a position of self-control indicates that you're motivated, not out of passion or need, but rather by a sincere desire for a closer relationship, women are able to tell when a male is in charge of himself, and this attribute motivates courtesy and confidence. Self-control in a close relationship entails controlling your desires in a manner that honors her needs as well as yours. It involves striking a balance between communicating your needs and considering her degree of comfort. For instance, in the event that you become impatient or irritated due to the relationship isn't developing as rapidly as you'd, such as stepping back and reminding oneself of intimacy in the larger scheme of things, is not simply about proximity on a physical level, but about emotional ties, mutual trust, and respect. By being in charge of yourself, show that you're more than just eager for quick satisfaction, but in creating a significant, long-lasting relationship. Self-control also includes enduring rejection or moving more slowly. Dignity and grace during the conversation, not what is expected of it, or if she's not prepared for closeness, your capacity to keep your cool and show understanding set you. Except in this case, Stoic philosophy gleams. You're not dependent on the result, and your mental tranquility isn't reliant on her acceptance in return. Self-control. You bolster your self-worth and demonstrate your ability of managing the complicated emotional issues that accompany closeness at this stage of development is not only lovely, but also necessary for constructing a happy, healthy communication. In relationship number 7, recognize the significance of respect for one another. Additionally, development when seeking closeness. It's crucial to convey that you see it as a shared encounter that can improve. This has nothing to do with either of your lives. She can provide you with, but regarding what you can communicate jointly to convey how profound your relationship can benefit from both. Of your own development, for example, you could state that I believe getting closer could bring us much greater joy, and recognizing that I see it as a means for us to develop mutually, not only physically, but additionally, this is a spiritual and emotional changes. The emphasis from sensual enjoyment promote progress and mutual respect. It demonstrates, if you think highly of her personally, and that, as part of a greater journey, closeness in the direction of contentment and satisfaction, calm conveying value in this manner, proves that you're not only eager to realize your own aspirations, but in supporting her progress and well-being, demonstrate that you consider the connection to be a partnership place you may both grow and learn, assist one another. Additionally, this strategy is in line with the Stoic idea of looking at the larger relationships aren't picture-perfect in Stoicism, not only about self-interest, but also about advancing the common good through viewing closeness as a shared encounter that can improve both of your lives. You exhibit a degree of depth and maturity that are uncommon and really gorgeous. Number 8. The Stoic viewpoint on rejection that embraces the result with grace. Let us discuss the potential rejection, which is a constant danger whenever talking about closeness. From a detached rejection of a perspective is just an occurrence. It does not establish your value or the nature of your partnership. If she being prepared or not feeling the same, graciously acknowledge her response and recognizing that you may say, I respect your emotions and value your, sincerely, I'm happy that we can have an honest conversation regarding this, as this response illustrates both emotional forbearance and maturity, which have incredibly alluring attributes. Recall that Stoicism instructs us that although we can't control how others react, we master our own reactions by accepting. You affirm rejection with grace, respect for yourself, and keep the door open for later. Rejecting a possibility does not mean the end. It's just a portion of the voyage. By gracefully accepting it, you demonstrate that you're not dependent on the result and that you have faith in your own abilities. This degree of emotional toughness is unusual and demonstrates your ability to manage the relationship's intricacies. With number 9, maturity and comprehension, coming to a Stoic realization in love and closeness. To conclude, let's review the important details. Asking for closeness from a woman viewed via a Stoic perspective incorporates a blend of self-awareness, tolerance, and regard for both of her sentiments, as well as your own, by going to the talk that is balanced in its vulnerability via power, utilizing nuanced psychological strategies, and adopting a Stoic ideas that you might use to traverse this complex topic with assurance and grace. Recall the pure Stoicism of love is not about controlling your impulses, or it's important to master emotions regarding treating intimacy as a cooperative travel where both partners experience a sense of worth acknowledged and comprehended. When you apply the guidelines, you'll discover that not only does the way you handle closeness change, however, your entire emotional state, also tenacity and relationship with others, can benefit from Stoicism in this way. Concept that, when utilized in partnerships, can result in more in-depth, significant connections. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for accompanying me as we explore Stoic. If you came upon this video, Intimacy Perceptive, remember to like and subscribe for more in-depth content, far into the mental and philosophical elements in interpersonal partnerships. Until the next time, remain calm and powerful, and keep aiming for the finest, a more mature version of oneself.